When we think of gang leaders, we often picture muscular men with intimidating strength or frightening faces. However, not all crime bosses fit this stereotype. Some leaders are women with gentle appearances, even possessing beauty that others admire. The central figure in today's story, a woman barely in her 20s who rose to become a notorious female crime boss in the local underworld. Her path to wealth was a series of brutal crimes, soaked in blood and tears, exploiting and enslaving thousands of women. Today, we will explore this case. The main character in today's crime story is Wang Ziqi, the notorious female crime boss of Chongqing. In 2010, at age 36, she had been operating in Chongqing for 15 years, using her extraordinary beauty to build a business empire backed by influential figures. This is her image when she was arrested and interrogated. Perhaps she never thought she would never walk out of prison, as she was eventually sentenced to death, becoming the first person in China executed for organizing prostitution. Given her crimes and despicable behavior, the death sentence was fitting punishment. Ziqi was born in 1974 to an ordinary rural family in Chongqing. The older generations were all farmers. Although the family owned a fair amount of land, Ziqi was the third child, with 2 older brothers and 3 younger sisters. Despite her parents' hard work in farming, they could only ensure the family had enough to eat. However, Ziqi seemed blessed with natural beauty from birth. Even as a child, she stood out with exceptional looks, causing anyone who met her to exclaim that she was a future beauty. This attractiveness brought her attention from many boys early on. From elementary school days, Ziqi received gifts like stationery and snacks from male classmates, and she happily accepted them all. By high school, Ziqi's beauty had blossomed even more, making her the flower that the entire school admired. Each day, crowds of male students followed her, and love letters arrived in countless numbers. Immersed in this spotlight and adulation, Ziqi gradually forgot about her studies, taking her first steps on a path to ruin. Entering adulthood, Ziqi began associating with criminal elements in society. During this time, the economic burden on her family increased as the children grew older, forcing her parents to work even harder to make ends meet, causing supervision of their children to become lax. Without her parents' strict control, the reckless nature in Ziqi developed more strongly. Initially, she only contacted these thugs after school, but gradually, she blatantly skipped classes to participate in life outside. The sight of men lingering at the school gate waiting for Ziqi after class, then taking her to entertainment venues, became common. A teenage girl, only in her mid-teens, frequenting night spots, even staying out all night, was extremely dangerous. The tragedy didn't stop there. Ziqi's wrongful behavior also influenced her sister Wang. Admiring her older sister, the younger sister also began skipping school and following in her footsteps down a path of depravity. Amid flattery and indulgence from men, the 2 sisters sank deeper, gradually straying from a healthy life, taking long strides on a path of no return. At this point, the minds of both sisters had been completely overwhelmed by the glamour of the outside world. Ziqi had resolutely abandoned her studies, immersing herself without hesitation in a life of revelry and debauchery. But harsh reality gradually emerged. She quickly realized she didn't have enough money to maintain this luxurious lifestyle. With parents who were dirt-poor farmers, she couldn't expect financial support from her family. Faced with this harsh reality, Ziqi decided to work to earn money to continue her life of indulgence. However, the low wages of a factory worker couldn't satisfy her ever-increasing material desires. Just as she turned 20, Ziqi made a bold decision to start her own business. She ambitiously sought to build a life superior to her peers, vowing to create a great career for herself. But tragically, this so-called great career would be built on crime and exploitation, ultimately leading her to a tragic end, falling into an earthly hell of her own making. Without skills or education, what did Ziqi rely on to achieve her grand ambitions? At that time, she could only work minor jobs in small hair salons, such as washing customers' hair, to make a living. But such a life was vastly different from what she desired. Dissatisfied with this disparity, she began planning another venture. She intended to open a beauty and hair salon in downtown Chongqing, to fulfill her ambition of rising from mediocrity to extraordinary success. The first step on her entrepreneurial journey, Ziqi recruited her sister Wang, who had long since dropped out of school to follow her. They decided to pool their capital, collecting every penny they had saved, but could only scrape together just over 20,000 yuan, 2,500, a sum far too modest for their business ambitions. Still short of funds, the sisters turned to their network of former party companions for financing. Their alluring, seductive beauty proved effective. Many men were willing to open their wallets and generously invest in the beautiful sisters. Thanks to their special ability to attract and persuade, they borrowed from everywhere, and by 1994 had gathered a considerable sum of nearly 100,000 yuan, 12,500. With this capital, the sisters rented a store in Jiangjia Lane in Yongchuan District, Chongqing, and opened a beauty salon called Yuexin. This marked the beginning of the career of crime they never anticipated. However, despite the sisters' efforts, the business failed to thrive. The once confident young women realized that money was dwindling and customers were few. Soon, most of the money they had borrowed was nearly gone. Just as the beauty and hair salon was about to close, they discovered a new path to riches. One evening as dusk fell after a day without customers, the Yuexin beauty salon finally welcomed a guest. He was a large, robust man. Upon entering, his eyes lingered, mesmerized by the beauty of the two sisters, then quickly shifted to a scrutinizing, lustful gaze. Well accustomed to admiring looks mixed with desire, the two beautiful young women weren't particularly concerned. However, the guest's next statement stunned them. "Do you offer special services? I'm willing to pay extra." This blatant proposition planted a bold idea in Ziqi's mind. She asked the customer to wait a moment, then pulled Yuaning aside, whispering, "Continuing business like this isn't working. What if we actually provide some special services?" From that fateful day, the Yuexin beauty salon began welcoming an increasingly large stream of male customers. In the early stages, the sisters were still cautious in each shady transaction, even establishing an intricate password system. Only customers who knew the password were welcomed with special services. There's no denying that this illegal business brought dizzying profits. Ziqi's income skyrocketed, increasing at least tenfold from before. Along with the abundant money, her greed and recklessness grew stronger. With ambitions to expand, Ziqi implemented the next step in her plan, contacting women in the same industry whom she knew. Many girls, though already working in prostitution, rarely had a business front like Ziqi's. So they flocked to the Yuexin beauty salon, using it for illicit transactions, while paying Ziqi a tax, the beginning of the protection model that would make her a notorious female crime boss later. Under the guise of an ordinary beauty salon, prostitution was organized systematically, and Ziqi grew increasingly wealthy from this dirty money. Through her own transactions and commissions from the women, Ziqi soon earned over 100,000 yuan, $2,500, paying off all debts to her sister and others. Gradually, as money accumulated and customers increased, sometimes her beauty and hair salon couldn't even accommodate all the clients. Ziqi decided to open several more branches and recruit more people. This required not only skilled managers, but also a tight security system. She needed tough enforcers ready to act when necessary, both to maintain order in the establishments and to deal with unscrupulous customers who intended to use the services and flee without paying. In this situation, Ziqi approached a couple she knew from her earlier partying days, Tao Minggu and Zhong Guangwu. Tao Minggu typified the parasitic man who depended on women's money without doing honest work. However, he proposed a bold and cruel idea that tempted Ziqi. "To expand branches, you need many beautiful women," Tao Minggu said directly. "If you can't find enough, why not deceive honest girls or job seekers in Jin City?" This wicked suggestion struck like lightning into Ziqi's greedy mind. Immediately, she devised a perfect plan. She advertised for beauty and hair salon trainees, personally appearing at job markets with a successful, attractive appearance. This tactic quickly attracted many young women, those yearning for job opportunities and dreaming of a better life, not knowing they were walking into a cruel trap where their dreams would be crushed and dignity trampled mercilessly. When the naive girls arrived at the beauty salon hoping for vocational training, they quickly realized they had fallen into a terrible trap. The truth behind this career opportunity horrified and provoked resistance. Faced with this situation, Tao Minggu unhesitatingly proposed a brutal solution. Confiscate all their phones and identification documents. If any don't obey, let the thugs teach them a painful lesson. For those especially stubborn ones, tie them up and beat them mercilessly. I guarantee after a few days living in hell, they'll submit obediently. By then, even if they don't want to sell their bodies, they'll have no other choice. With this cruel plan, Ziqi fully exploited her beautiful appearance as bait. She appeared at recruitment venues with a glamorous image, fashionable clothes, stylish demeanor, and promised young girls they could shine like her if they followed her. Mesmerized by this model of success and sweet promises, many girls voluntarily walked into the trap. But the moment they realized the dark truth and tried to escape, Ziqi's brutal enforcers were ready to block their way. Any attempt at resistance was met with savage beatings, completely isolated without money, documents, means of communication, and constantly threatened with violence. The young girls eventually surrendered to Ziqi's authority, beginning work they had never imagined, selling their bodies in unspeakable shame and pain. With more and more staff, Ziqi's business expanded further, from beauty and hair salons to tea houses, lacking nothing. And the girls she oppressed grew from a few to hundreds. By this point, Ziqi no longer acted directly. Most of the time, she remained behind the scenes managing, only serving high-end clients personally. For the deceived girls with outstanding appearances, she treated them slightly better. Ordinary-looking girls were forced to borrow money from Ziqi, then voluntarily undergo cosmetic surgery. Ziqi also recruited several colleagues specializing in training these girls. Additionally, Ziqi set sales targets for each girl, with those failing to meet quotas facing harsh treatment. Many girls, receiving benefits here, gradually became too immersed to escape. When Ziqi became wealthy, she didn't forget her family. She called relatives from her hometown and arranged for them to manage stores. Her sister Yuaning had long since become her right-hand woman. This way, Ziqi's business grew increasingly powerful. In less than 2 years, she had 8 establishments, and the women who had fallen under her control exceeded 2,000. This frightening number continued to rise. Actually, initially, the Wang sisters didn't think their business would flourish so much and had no plans for major expansion. Perhaps they just wanted to make some money for gambling. But this type of business brought them enormous profits, causing the sisters to completely lose control and travel increasingly far down this path of sin. From its small initial scale, Ziqi's empire rapidly expanded at an astonishing rate. In a short time, her army had developed into a proper organization, with just the security team and enforcers numbering over 80 people, a force strong enough to pressure and control any situation. Besides this, the organization owned a diverse and professional personnel system, from instructors specializing in training client service skills, customer service teams responsible for reception and arrangements, to financial management departments handling income, expenses, and crisis management. With an intricately built organizational structure, this prostitution empire gradually transformed into a genuine criminal organization with underworld characteristics. All activities took place within a clearly hierarchical system, from forcing women into prostitution, collecting illegal protection money, to expanding territory and dealing with competing forces. This organization gradually formed a tight structure with clear division of responsibilities, each member having specific positions and duties. This was no longer a small criminal group, but had become a frightening underground empire, an efficiently operating machine under the control of a ruthless female boss, with the sole goal of reaping profits at any cost, regardless of the fate and pain of thousands of women turned into money-making tools. From March 1998 to August 2009, this organization illegally collected 100 million yuan, 12.5 million. Among these 9 prostitution locations, the most famous was the Liangdian Tea House, opened in late '98. It was located in a hotel opposite the Yongchuan District Police Station in Chongqing. Initially, this tea house didn't even have a sign, but it brought an enormous illegal income to the Wang sisters. Their gang truly became an organization with underworld characteristics at Liangdian. Although Liangdian later relocated and opened several branches, the name Liangdian remained the most famous. Even locally, if you took a taxi and just said 80 yuan, the driver would know where to go, because this was closely related to the so-called low price, good service of the Liangdian Tea House. According to investigation information, the Liangdian Tea House usually opened around 2 to 3 p.m. The best business time was after 8 p.m. and would last until early the next morning. Typically, each 45-minute session cost 80 yuan, $10, so Liangdian was also called 80 yuan. During peak business times every evening, there were many customers waiting in the lounge, at most queuing over 100 numbers. While waiting, customers could play ping pong, billiards, or chat in the tea house, waiting for service staff to call their number. Liangdian always advertised low prices and good service. In fact, Liangdian's interior was very simple, with old furniture and electronic equipment looking very dirty, not even having toilets and bathrooms in the rooms. But these couldn't deter many lustful men from visiting. The words, low price, good service were soaked in the blood and tears of countless deceived women. To control the women forced into prostitution, the Wang sisters, along with Tao Minggu, Zhong Guangwu, and others, during their organization's development, formed a strict fascist-style management model, even more like a concentration camp. Some places didn't even have beds, with over 10 girls sleeping on the floor. Such locations for detaining and exploiting women, Ziqi's gang had up to 19 in the Chongqing city area. This management model allowed them to control the personal freedom of prostituted women very strictly. And they had even more cruel management measures. On July 9, 2003, a female victim named Zhen, forced into prostitution, fell while climbing out of an 8th-floor window trying to escape, paralyzing half her body. Fearing discovery of their crimes, the gang illegally detained her for 6 years, cutting off all Zhen's contact with the outside world. Not until September 28, 2009, was Zhen finally rescued by police. Ziqi had become a notorious figure in Chongqing's underworld. Her empire operated like a perfect machine. Inside, she controlled hundreds of women through violence and fear. Outside, she protected customers seeking carnal pleasures with absolute guarantees of safety. This was the secret behind this prostitution empire's resounding success. When stepping into Ziqi's establishments, especially the famous Liangdian Tea House, customers never worried about sudden raids or police arrests, a rare privilege in illegal business. But the thought-provoking question is, where did this strange safety come from? How could a criminal organization operate so openly? Clearly relying solely on the Wang sisters' strength and their henchmen couldn't explain this phenomenon. Without protection from some powerful force, how could the Liangdian Tea House exist and thrive right under the police's nose, even directly opposite a police station for many years without any trouble? So who stood behind protecting this criminal empire? Although never confirmed in any official statement, in the hearts of Chongqing citizens, this was an open secret. It's no surprise this happened in Chongqing, a city long famous as a center for gang criminal activities. Throughout the downtown area and surrounding districts, underworld forces had deeply rooted and operated extensively, from bid rigging, illegal hunting, organizing prostitution, drug trafficking to loan sharking. The widespread and persistent presence of these illegal activities suggested there must be powerful umbrellas sheltering from above. Since November 2007, Chongqing's special campaign against crime and eliminating evil had been launched. By May 1, 2010, the anti-crime campaign had arrested 4,781 people related to criminal organizations, with 14 gangs related to organized crime receiving fatal blows. Among these was Wen Chang, former Level 1 police supervisor of Chongqing, former deputy party secretary of Chongqing Police Bureau, executive deputy bureau chief, investigator of the political department, and bureau chief of Chongqing Justice Bureau. And this open secret in the eyes of Chongqing citizens was that the real boss behind the Liangdian Tea House was Wen Chang, bureau chief of Chongqing Justice Bureau. Moreover, in public opinion, There were rumors that Ziqi was Wen Chang's mistress. For a woman to become an underworld boss, it's evident she used unconventional methods to attract officials. Only a figure like Wen Qiang could shelter the Liangdian Tea House, allowing it to thrive right under the Chongqing City Police Bureau's eyes, with police turning a blind eye. Because at that time, Wen Qiang was the protective umbrella for 5 major underworld forces in Chongqing. Organizations doing business like Ziqi's were just minor matters in his grand career. Therefore, this is why on July 7, 2010, Wen Qiang, a man of heinous crimes, became the first police bureau chief in China to be executed at the political department level. On February 10, 2010, as the highest-level suspect in Chongqing's anti-crime campaign, Wen Qiang stood trial at Chongqing's No. 5 Intermediate People's Court. At that time, the female owner of the Liangdian Tea House, known to all as Chongqing's most evil and famous prostitution site, Ziqi, appeared in court to testify, attracting media and audience attention. Her testimony in court revealed that for protection from Chen Tao, former squad leader of Squad 1, Security Division of Chongqing Police Bureau, former Deputy Division Chief of the Security Division of Chongqing Police Bureau from February 2005 to September 2008, Chen Tao had received money from Ziqi 8 times, totaling 19,000 Wen, 2,375. Wang stated that not only that, during these years, Chen Tao frequently called her, altogether asking her to find more than 10 prostitutes. Regarding this, Chen Tao denied it in court. Ziqi revealed another major scandal. Chen Tao not only sought prostitutes himself, but once brought his accomplice Huang Daiqiang, former Deputy Division Chief of the Criminal Police Division of Chongqing Police Bureau, to ask her for prostitutes. Chen Tao declared in court that no such thing happened. It should be known that at that time, including Chen Tao and Huang Daiqiang, along with 2 other police system officials, were called Wen Qiang's 4 Black Generals. In early August 2009, with the collapse of her backing, Ziqi's underworld career was also coming to an end. Around 11 p.m. on August 7th, over 200 police officers raided Liangdian, smashing the prostitution den and criminal gang that had been rooted in Chongqing for 15 years, rescuing over 100 women who had been cruelly oppressed and enslaved by Ziqi's underworld gang. On August 11, 2010, Ziqi was sentenced to death. In December 2011, Ziqi was executed. She was also the first person in the country to be sentenced to death for organizing prostitution. And this day was exactly 1 year and 5 months after Wen Qiang, the former police bureau chief at the political department level, was executed. As for this organization, core member Tao Minggu was also executed, deprived of political rights for life, and had all personal assets confiscated. Among the remaining 24 organization members, 1 was sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve, 2 were sentenced to life imprisonment, and 21 were successively sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment. 4 related police officers were sentenced from 3 years and 6 months to 15 years in prison for crimes such as accepting bribes, covering up, and tolerating underworld criminal organizations, etc. In this gang, only Ziqi's sister, Wang, escaped abroad. On November 17, 2009, at the request of the National Center Office of the International Criminal Police in China, the International Criminal Police Organization issued a global international red notice while sending a request for judicial assistance, striving to capture Wang, who had fled to Austria at that time. After more than 2 years, on February 28, 2011, through thorough investigation, police obtained important information that Wang had fled to the Philippines. Finally, on the morning of March 30, 2011, police from both countries coordinated to arrest Wang, who was hiding in a fast food store in Chinatown, Manila, Philippines, ending a chase lasting over 500 days and quickly completing extradition procedures, bringing her back to the country on March 31st to face legal punishment. With this underworld criminal organization was completely eliminated. Ziqi was executed at just 37 years old. Perhaps she thought she would serve 10+ years in prison, then go out to enjoy a peaceful meal, so she confessed all crimes and related persons to the police, hoping to have her charges reconsidered. But the law showed no mercy to such a heinous criminal as her. She was the lifelong nightmare of countless innocent young women. In these 15 years, the harm caused was innumerable. The Ziqi case is not just a story about legal punishment, but also a profound warning about the price paid for bottomless greed. From a beautiful girl with a poor childhood, Ziqi could have chosen many legitimate paths to rise in life. Instead, she chose the path of sin, getting rich from others' pain and humiliation. Looking back at this case, we see not just a criminal organization being dismantled, but thousands of destroyed lives, children losing parents, and a society paying a high price for tolerating crime. The story of Ziqi remains as a reminder that in life, there are no shortcuts to true success, and sooner or later, justice will be served, no matter how powerful and protected the evildoer. And that's the case for today. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos.